So now we're about to take a look and go through Dr. Westman's food list. If you don't know who Dr. Eric Westman is, he's one of the doctors who clinically uses the ketogenic diet to treat patients with obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, and a number of other what he calls worst case scenarios. I do highly recommend watching some of his talks. They're kind of down to earth, not very super science heavy. You know, a lot of his knowledge, much like Dr. Fung's in fasting, comes from clinical practice. And he's been doing it a long time. So he has a lot of clinical data, a lot of feedback, and a lot of experience in treating people with obesity. So if we look through the list here, let me zoom this in. So these are got some guidelines. He wants you to be clinical. I would argue you can go up to 50 grams a day. If you do 50 grams a day, you probably are at the upper end of your carb tolerance. And that's a little different for any of us. If you're highly obese and highly diabetic, you want to keep it below 20 if possible, which is a very strict ketogenic diet. You won't be doing that nut shit that I showed you. You won't be eating lots of full fat yogurt that I showed you, and you'll be doing a lot of fasting, to fill in the gaps. But for the most part, 50 is about the max. Anything over that and you are on the verge of being out of ketosis, and you're really just not going to efficiently reverse whatever your condition you're trying to address is, including obesity. So the lower your 20, you can go down to 0. That's fine. It's hard. Don't know. That means you're cutting out the leafy green vegetables at that point. You need to be eating some organ meats, and fats, but it is possible. But even then, you're still going to get a few grams in the meats. So it's impossible, I think, to go zero carb because there is glycogen in some of the muscle meats that you eat. So meat, you got beef, pork, lamb, bacon, unglazed. Make sure there's no sugar added to your fucking meats, and supermarkets are good at it. Restaurants do it. Fast food does it a lot. So you got to be very careful. Know your nutrition information if you're eating processed meats, because most processed meats have added sugar. So you want to avoid meats where sugar is added to it. It's, you want them to carve the shit off the cow and hand it to you. So keep that in mind. Check for your carb counts. Pepperoni, I eat that a lot. I do have breakfast sausage from time to time. I do the occasional hot dog, especially when I'm out and I need to eat with people. I can eat a hot dog or two without the bun. You just got to keep it down. It shouldn't be more than 1 gram per serving in your meats, if possible, and your cheeses too. So, poultry, chicken, turkey, duck, and any other fowl. Once again, be careful with processed meats. Turkey, you're not going to get a lot of fat with turkey breasts. You want to eat some of the darker meats so that you get more fat and less, because the lean turkey breast is honestly not doing much for you other than giving your protein and your tryptophan. Tryptophan being important, but you also get tryptophan from things like eggs and stuff too. So you just got to keep in mind that, Keep an eye, because they glaze turkey. If it's processed, buy it as basic formed as you can and do it yourself. If you have to eat the processed shit, you should count it toward your daily carb count appropriately and avoid sugared up meats and glazed meats as much as possible. Fish and shellfish. This goes without saying. Most fish is healthy. You can argue about the factory farm mercury content and all that shit, so I wouldn't do tuna all the time and stuff like that. Every once, a couple times a week I'll have tuna. I like shrimp. I like scallops. I like crab. I like lobster. I haven't tried salmon. Maybe I should. But these are some of the fish, but pretty much any fish, any seafood is fine as far as that's concerned. So, eggs. Eat as many fucking eggs as you want, honestly. And they're very fulfilling. I like eggs. If you don't like eggs, it's going to be a little rough going, I think, because eggs are pretty much an integral, almost daily thing, or at least, every day I eat type thing. There are days where I don't eat eggs and I favor other foods just to kind of break things up a little bit, because you can get sick of eggs. But making different forms of omelets with different flavoring is perfectly possible with eggs. Change up your seasoning, change up your fucking, what you're putting into with the eggs. But eggs are definitely a go-to. So, fibrous, non-starchy vegetables. You do need to consume these because we aren't eating organ meats that much. And we're going to miss out on a little bit of nutrition. This is like your supplement. You do not need to be heavy on the vegetables. If you're getting enough, i.e. you're eating a couple of salads with your meals, or you're mixing in the greens and whatnot with it, pick your favorites out of this and add them in. But be careful. Because some have more carbs than others. But overall, you're not going to go too wrong if you're picking your vegetables here. You can make a pretty fucking mean salad with the vegetables here. Pick the ones you like, ignore the ones you don't. It's really that simple. You want something that's magnesium heavy, so keep that in mind. Spinach is perfectly fine for that. I find it has very little flavor raw. And, broccoli is good too. I mean, there's all kinds of... I've developed a taste for asparagus. I used to never touch that shit. But since I've gone keto, I kind of like it. With a lot of butter all over it and shit. And butter the shit out of everything. You want to add lots of fat to this. That's part of the diet. Adding fat. Healthy dressings that you make yourself are the best. But find dressings that use olive oil... or use healthy fats. Just putting butter on shit is fucking excellent. Melt some butter. Oh my God. Add a little bit of salt and seasoning to that butter and you're enjoying some fucking vegetables at that point. I contend. I throw lots of cheese. I throw meats in with it. Get creative with your salads. It doesn't have to be a little rabbit munching on some motherfucking grass. You can put good shit in with this stuff. This is good shit. So use it. Do whatever you can. Those are the vegetables to go through. Cheese. It says up to 4 ounces a day. I can tell you I do more than that. I like cheeses. I do. It wants you to avoid processed cheese. Like that fucking slice of American cheese. American shit. Try and go to there's usually a cheese section in the supermarket with a lot of variety of cheeses. Pick your favorites there, work them into your food. I like to make a bowl of pizza toppings sometimes. I'll put some Rayo sauce, which is 3 grams per serving, pizza sauce, a little bit. I use 1 or 2 servings of that. And then I put a bunch of mozzarella cheese and then some pepperoni in, and I eat that shit with a fork, and it's fucking great. So it's good stuff. Mayonnaise. You want to be careful with mayonnaise because most of it is made with vegetable oil nowadays, and you want stuff that's made with either olive oil or coconut oil or something in that lines, or you make your own. I've heard a lot about Duke's. Hellman's seems to be a good one. Look for olive oil based. Do not go with the vegetable oils, because your body can become more inflamed and doesn't deal with like soybean oil and all of that shit as well. And it's in a lot of processed foods. Avocado. I myself haven't developed a taste or an efficient way of using avocado, so I'm not a big fan. I also am not a big fan of olives, so I very rarely consume avocado. But that is a fatty vegetable. It is a healthy fat. So, condiments. Ketchup. That's a bad one. I don't use ketchup anymore. It's essentially sugaring your meat. I like the flavor of meat. I don't like it adulterated with ketchup. The only reason I would say you use ketchup is if you're eating a really low quality meat and you don't want to fucking taste that shit, you put ketchup on it. But ketchup is sugar. If you use it, if you just fucking can't live without it, it needs to be heavily moderated. You don't want to slather a big McDonald's portion of ketchup onto your shit, which they always do. Get it on the side whenever possible and limit it appropriately. That's the same with salad dressings in restaurants, which often get added sugar. If you don't know, moderate it as if it had sugar. I always get my dressing on the side and add about half of what's in that cup to the top of my salad, stir it around, and it's good enough. So soy sauces you want to keep to a minimum, but you can use them. Lemon lime juice, a couple of teaspoons of that. But that's about it. You don't get away from the condiments, because all the condiments are taken away from the flavor. You don't want dipping sauces and all of that. Use low carb shit if you're going to do it. Season your shit, or use hot sauce. But ketchup is just pouring sugar. You're putting sugar on your fucking meat. So is barbecue sauce. You're sugaring your shit. If you're going to sugar your meats, you might as well not even bother with keto. And that's my rather hardcore stance on that. So, continuing along, pickles. Pickles are good. Dill or sugar-free. You can have a couple servings of that per day. Snacks, pepperoni, pork rinds. I do pork rinds. I often dip them. There's some carbs involved with the dip. As far as sour cream, French onion dip, I'll use that, and I'll probably eat half a container of that sometimes. That's about 4 grams of carbs total. No carbs in pork rinds, and to me, they're a good chip substitute. Some people don't like pork. Some people aren't a fan of pork rinds and think they're gross. For me, it's my potato chip thing. If I want something that's like eating potato chips, I eat pork rinds, and they're cheap too. They're like $2 for a bag of them. No problem. Ham, beef, turkey, other meats rolled up with cream cheese. Cream cheese is a nice, good thing to put in. I've actually tried a meat roll up with cream cheese. I might have to put that on my list of shit to try. Deviled eggs, summer sausage, and salami. So those are, and I would add cheese to this. He's not a big fan of high amounts of cheese. And the reason for that is some people can't tolerate high amounts of cheese without getting diarrhea. So if you're one of those people, then yeah, you're going to lean more to the meat snacks and less on the dairy. So here's the restriction. This is what you shouldn't be fucking eating. All right? No sugar. I mean, does he really have to fucking say it? Have we not figured that out yet? No sugar. No starches, potatoes, breads, rice. Nope, none of that. You don't need any of that. You don't need carbohydrates. Your body makes the shit when you need it. And it'll make it from if you're over consuming protein, which you can do on this diet. So I would argue you need to keep them down. No starches. If you're trying to be ketogenic, if you're trying to reverse your obesity, your diabetes, your heart disease, you need to be as low carb as possible. Once you're there, I would argue you could reintegrate, maybe not be full on keto, maybe keep it under 100 grams per day, but there's a protocol where you step your way back up until you start noticing problems. I want to be a fat burner, though. I want to remain as a fat burner with maybe occasional carb days mixed in here and there of healthy carbs. And I always want to keep my sugar low, almost non-existent in some cases. So, yeah, anything with sugar. Beer. No beer. I'm sorry. I know that's a big deal breaker for a lot of people. No flavored yogurts, or low-fat yogurts. Low-fat means they took the fat out, put sugar in. They took that nice, innocuous, non-fructose containing lactose out of it, and they put goddamn fucking fructose-laden sugar in it in fucking 15 to 30 grams in some fucking brands. So, yeah, no fruit juice. When you take the fiber out of the fruit and you squeeze a shit ton of it into a smoothie, you're basically drinking sugar water at that point. As far as your liver's concerned, every bit as bad as a soda. So, fruit. There are some berries you can consume in very moderation. This will be where I disagree, but you can overdo it. A small half a handful of, blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries mixed in with, a yogurt or whatnot is a good dessert as well. I do sometimes put some blueberries, like a moderate amount of blueberries, into my yogurt. And I'm keeping cognizant of the carbs that represents and trying to keep my total under 50 for the day. 50 is my sweet spot. I've experimented enough to know that that's my carb tolerance. If I go too far over 50, I'm going to get kicked the fuck out of ketosis. I used to measure it with the goddamn urine strips, and I would find that if I went over 50, I was done with ketosis. So 50 is kind of the upper end, So... you don't need grains. You don't need rice. You don't need fucking cereal. You don't need oatmeal, flour, cornstarch, breads, pastas, muffins, bagels, crackers, and shit. You don't need any of that. It's not real food. It's filler. It's to fatten things up. You want to get fatter? Eat that shit. Because that's exactly what that shit will do to you. Even rice. And I know I'm going to get a little bit of hate for that one. But oh well. Sweeteners. It recommends Truvia. Truvia has some extra fillers in it. I'm not a fan. He's trying to be practical here. I disagree with the Splenda because it does make you hungrier. It can fuck with your appestat. Your hormones won't do as good a job when you're eating lots of sucralose. Aspartame, same thing. Your hormones will be hungrier. That's why they did a study where diet soda makes you consume more calories, only they didn't kind of understand the process when they did that study. But the fact of the matter is these two sweeteners right here will make you hungrier. Splenda tastes the most like sugar and is often mixed with dextrose, which is a glucose base. So you got to be careful. Stevia erythritol with no other ingredients. We'll read the ingredients of your sweetener. I find has the least amount of aftertaste and a decent amount of sweetness per packet. I find this to be my go-to sweetener. I don't use any of the other ones anymore. I've never tried saccharin. That's old school. In a pinch, like if I'm out and I don't have my sweetener with me, which I carry almost everywhere, I keep a box of it in the car. I carry 4 or 5 packets in my pocket. So I always have some of my sweetener with me because you never know when you're going to be somewhere socially and you want to have the cup of coffee and you maybe want some sweetener in it and you don't feel like drinking black, or maybe you want to do something to sweeten some dark chocolate or something. You never know. And if you have the sweetener with you, you don't have to go to these other two. But out in the world, you're going to be able to find Splenda. So in a pinch, on an eating day, definitely not on a fasting day, I would go with the sucralose. There's also occasional desserts that have it that you can eat that will make you hungry, that you shouldn't do all the time, but I find Splenda is good enough. So, fats and oils. All fats and oils, even butter, are allowed. Some oils are better for cooking. Coconut oil, butter, or lard is recommended for cooking. These are the most stable at high temperatures. Olive oil is recommended for cold dressings. No hydrogenated oils or vegetable oils or margarines. You want to avoid that shit because our bodies don't handle it well. It does raise our inflammation. We do not source those fats efficiently. We don't burn them efficiently, and they are harmful. Yet they're in all the processed foods, they're in all the fast foods, they're frying their fries in it. It is everywhere. Hard to avoid if you're eating processed foods. So, Salad dressing, same thing. You got to be careful what kind of fats they make their dressings with and whether or not they put sugar in it. Bring your own dressing. Best solution. Some restaurants may get pissed off about that. That's where I would typically just get the dressing on the side and do it about half of what they give me at most, depending on the kind of dressing. Some dressing you don't have to worry as much about, like blue cheese. But if you don't eat out a lot, you can afford to slip up a little bit in the dressing department. So no light dressings. Fat out, sugar in. That's what light dressings are. Fat-free dressings, same thing. No, not as much fat, lots of vegetable oil, added sugar. That's what you're getting there. So that's the thing. That's all there is to it. So thanks for watching my fucking first food series video. Thanks to all my patrons who have helped me grow this channel. To those of you who have donated during live streams, I appreciate you as well. And for those of you who watch all the fucking ads and help contribute to keep me being able to produce content as often as possible, thank you, all of you. So this is part of the food series. It's kind of just like an introductory thing. Going forward, I will be more specific in specific situations or address different foods which are keto safe that I try out and what I think of them and what I think of the fucking ingredients in them and so on and so forth. My advice to you, leaving you off here, is go out and find some food lists from some reputable keto sites. Pick your favorite foods from that list and get a little creative with how you integrate them into your life or how you substitute certain foods for the carbs you're removing and the grains you're removing from your life. And you'll find that over time you will crave those things less because your body's going to know that you're getting everything you need. It doesn't need to crave shit. Once your addiction subsides and your mood stabilizes and your energy levels stabilize, you will not crave. You'll remember, you'll know that cheesecake tasted pretty good when it had 50 grams of sugar in it. But now you also know you can have a ketogenic version of it that doesn't have sugar. So it's about that. It's about replacing the bad foods with foods that you like within the ketogenic diet. And there are plenty. I have no issues. I can come up with desserts. My mother's open to baking shit for me, so as long as I give her the recipe, I can get stuff made for desserts. However, my go-tos are very simple, very easy to prepare and to eat, and I like them enough that I actually crave them when it comes time for a desserty mood, Ice cream, I'm not I don't know. It's hard to find keto-friendly ice cream. So I do miss it. So that'll probably be occasional cheats. By occasional, I mean special occasion cheats. Not weekly, not even monthly necessarily. But occasionally I might have an ice cream. But not on my list of shit to do right now as I'm trying to reverse my fatty liver and get to my goal and stay there. So, remember, I'm not a fucking expert. I'm just a fucking asshole. Have a nice motherfucking day. And shit.